is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Legion, Season 2, Episode 2, Chapter 10. It's so awkward to call it chapter. In this episode, we finally meet Amal Farouk. And he's rad, and I really like him a lot. And this is so much more fun now. Welcome to Unspoiled.
Happy Jack wasn't told, but he wasn't there. He lived in the sand at the island. The kids would all sing, he would take wrong key. So they rode on his head in their very donkey.
So welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Natasha.
And I'm Maggie.
And, Maggie, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Have you read the Dresden Files? I can't ever remember, because
No.
I know I asked you.
I have not. I should.
Okay. There is a villain in the Dresden Files in one of the books that we covered recently that reminds me very much of Amal Farouk.
Okay.
And he is probably one of the best villains of the whole series. So I'm excited about this comparison. That's a good comparison to have going on.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who this actor is?
No, I've never seen him in anything else before.
I feel like I have to look him up because, well, I can't look him up. You look him up. But he is amazing. And
Yeah.
I really love him and want him to be in everything. And him lapsing into a billion other languages throughout the conversation is delightful.
Yeah.
And just add something. And I just think about how easily that could feel really pretentious.
No, but it feels really natural somehow.
It does. I'm just like, I'm imagining if they decided to go a different direction with the character and make him actually pretentious. And if he finished speaking and then was like, that was French. That was a quote from such and such. And he actually explained it. Oh, it'd be so irritating.
So I just looked him up. He's been on 24 and Homeland because he's Iranian,
God.
and so of course that's what he's been in, is 24 and Homeland.
God, that's depressing.
Isn't it? So I'm glad he's getting to do something else that isn't
Yeah.
that.
Wow.
So.
All right. That's
Yeah, he's
depressing.
been in-
I'm just so sad now.
The Unit, and yeah, that sort of stuff. But shooting the spy thriller Damascus cover, and yeah, I don't know. He's some Iranian guy who's never played a role this weird before. So welcome to him.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, okay. This
We just
episode...
have to start at the beginning, kind of.
This is just, I'm getting ahead of myself bad here. This was the first episode that I live tweeted from a new account. Guys, if you're interested in that, I started a separate Twitter from the main one so that if people are following along and they don't want to get spoiled, they don't have to follow it. But I just didn't want, shitty spoilers popping up in people's feeds without warning. So it's at Unspoiled Rotten. And I live tweeted this episode, and this opening moment with her licking this lollipop and her tongue being blue, I just disliked so very intensely.
Just for the tongue reason, or because of the way the whole thing is shot?
I think it's a combo of things. I think it's that her eyes are far away and this kind of weird vacant thing is happening.
Yeah.
That her tongue is blue, which I know it's supposed to be the candy, but it feels like a drug.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And-
especially because she talks about the drug being blue 2 seconds later. Yeah.
And also, I hate the fact that things change the color of our tongue. I feel like that should not be allowed. That shouldn't be part of the deal. If you eat something, you are the one that is dominant. It does not get to dominate you by changing the color of your tongue.
Show dominance over red dye number 2
11.
or whatever it is.
But yeah, so that right away, I'm like, thanks, show, for putting me on edge within the first, 4 seconds of this episode. And I had actually, so I'm glad that I did. I went back yesterday. A friend of mine came to visit, and she had never seen Legion, so we went and started from the beginning of season 1. Mm-hmm. And we only watched the first 3 episodes, but there is so much that I forgot because so much happens. Right. And this whole thing with her, his memories of getting high with Lenny, I had completely forgotten that the memories of getting high with her were fake.
Right.
I thought they met before and they both went into this mental hospital.
Right. No.
But
there was Lenny and Benny, and they were 2 different people. Right? Wasn't that the idea that there was just some other, some junkie that he hung out with? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so I had, totally forgotten about that whole thing. I had forgotten about the world's angriest boy in the world, which I think my brain made me forget, because it's traumatizing and horrible.
Yeah, it's really so creepy.
My friend, when he shows up, she was like, "Oh, what is that? Oh, God!" She hated the poop monster, which is how I think of the other one.
But the demon with the yellow eyes?
Yeah.
The giant walking turd?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maggie.
He is. Have you seen Weird Science?
Yes.
He always reminds me of when Bill Paxton turns into the giant turd at the end.
Wow, I don't remember that. Okay.
Oh, it's the best part of the whole movie.
Don't believe you at all.
No, you shouldn't. That's a lie. But it is a really strange part of a very strange movie that Bill Paxton gets turned into a big pile of poop.
Bless him.
R.I.P.
Yeah, this is how you want to remember me.
It is how I remember him. It's my earliest memory of him is watching that as a child when I was way too young to watch that movie. Anyway.
So, that demon with the yellow eyes is bad enough, but once we meet the world's angriest boy, she, really started to freak out a little bit.
Yeah, there's something about that's just so...
Yeah.
They come up with the weirdest images on this show that can really kind of burrow into your brain, and that's definitely one of them.
I think they make whoever is in charge of things is really good at making things that just look wrong. Mm-hmm. Your brain is trying to figure it out, and it just doesn't really make sense. So, the 2-dimensionalness of the world's angriest boy is so... It's sort of like the effect of the Babadook, where it's like a paper...
Yeah.
Stop motion monster, but that's what makes it so much worse than if it were anything.
Yeah, that may be why I've never finished the Babadook.
Yo.
I know.
Oh, that movie is so fucking scary, guys.
I know.
Oh, that's really I think that movie might have scared me more than any movie.
Yeah,
and more than any movie that was intended to scare me. Requiem for a Dream always hits number 1 on that for me, but
that's just deeply fucked up, that movie. But the Babadook I got a little ways into, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take a break from this and never come back to it.
It ends the ending is fucking... I just lost my shit, but my mom actually did the exact same thing as you. She watched the first, I think she said she got half an hour in and she just couldn't do it.
Yep. It was just weird
anyway.
for me as a parent. I did not like this. I did not enjoy this child. I was like, nope. I don't need to think about what it would be like if my child was basically possessed and unable to handle them. My kids are close enough to that already. Let's not add a supernatural aspect into it, because I'll just be sitting up all night thinking about it. Okay.
Yeah, no spoilers, but that's not entirely what it is.
I'm sure it's not, but I know there's something weird about that kid and I don't like it.
But yeah, I actually was thinking that since my mom is a mom, that maybe I'll have a different, reaction to this.
Yeah.
So, all right. So yeah, they're riding around on this, not Ferris wheel, merry-go-round.
Carousel, yeah.
Carousel. What's the difference between a carousel and a merry-go-round? Are they the same thing?
You can call a carousel a merry-go-round. There are also these stupid little merry-go-rounds that kids can sit on playgrounds that are literally just like little horses on a wheel, and they push themselves around on them. We used to have a couple of those at some playgrounds in Wisconsin. They're terrible. Kids go flying off of them all the time.
That sounds, I don't
Yeah, they
that.
like run up some speed, and then they're like, wee! And then one kid's like, okay, I want to get off the horse, and they like let go and just go full on. Both of my kids did that at one point, and they just go like flying across asphalt because playgrounds are horribly designed.
I'm looking at this to see. Oh, I see.
You see what I'm talking about?
And there are the flat ones that have just like handles, so you just stand?
Yeah.
That's weird. Okay, yeah. That's actually I remember seeing that in a Harry Potter movie. But I have never personally been to a park that has something like that.
Yeah.
All right. So, and he finally, like, agrees officially to help them, but says that he doesn't want them to hurt anybody. Mm-hmm. And then we see Oliver. And, like, it killed me. They don't agree to that. No. He says it, but they don't say anything.
And nobody says anything back, yeah.
And he doesn't, like, seem to take that. And then we see Oliver, and he goes and sits at this, like, fortune-telling booth in a field.
Right.
Where there's a big crystal ball, and says, he agreed, we're going tonight. And the camera pans around.
And the fortune teller's Oliver.
Yeah. And they have this, like, sick-ass white and gold Rolls Royce sitting off to the side. It's pretty good. So, credits, and then something that I never thought of, which is that Vermilion are androids. I don't know why that didn't occur to me. Mm-hmm. Like, I thought that they were people that had been experimented on.
Right.
I guess, I don't know, maybe that's not totally off the table.
Right.
But, he says that at least Ptolemy's guess is that they're androids.
Right. And he says that they have no idea how many of them there are.
Yeah, again, I didn't even think, because I thought there were just the 3.
The 3, yeah.
But okay, that's what we're doing now? Fine.
No, they are Legion.
Nah, shut up.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that they don't have any memories, so Ptolemy just finds it so chill to be around them because he doesn't have, like, things to sift through and this constant, like, pressure on him.
Right.
Which I like that concept. That would never really occur to me. Yeah,
he says it's just data. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't have access to that, so... Or he does, but it doesn't mean anything to him.
Right.
You know.
And they're in this, like, armored truck heading out to meet Farouk, supposedly, because that's where David saw a vision of him sitting. But it turns out it was a decoy to get them all out of the building. And there is nothing there but that fortune-telling booth and a music box sitting there. And Sydney immediately notices it, like, recognizes it, and decides to open it despite the 27% chance that it is an explosive. Bomb. Yeah. And she has a really weird reaction to it. There's a little ballerina spinning around inside, which is something that I think a lot of us had this type of jewelry / music box when we were kids. And all of a sudden she's like a little kid watching it, like she actually travels back and is sitting in her bedroom as a child. And when David says, Sid, she kind of comes back to herself and says, oh, it's just your fucking parasite messing with my head.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
The tone of her voice doesn't even really change that much. She says it in almost this lighthearted way, like, oh, it's just your parasite. Just like, yeah,
she's
that's
like
what's happening. But
really disturbed by that.
Yeah,
like, she mentions it
up.
later.
Yeah.
I want to know what that is. Yeah. What's that about? Because the only thing that we really know about Sydney's past is that really sad story about changing places with her mom so that she could have sex with her mom's boyfriend.
Yeah.
I don't feel like this is that, because that girl is too young.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be, but... Because, kids start wondering about that shit really early.
Right.
But I just don't see that quite yet.
No.
Maybe. I don't know. But, yeah, I guess we'll see.
But yeah, it's playing Would You Like to Swing on a Star, which is a song I've never liked. If I had a music box that played that as a kid, I would have been pissed off.
Yeah, that's one that we had to sing in
song.
third grade a lot.
Yeah, it was like one of those songs that you'd have to sing in chorus or whatever. Because they thought it was cute, because they'd be like, or would you rather be a pig? And all the kids would be like, hee hee. And I was like, this is the dumbest fucking song. Why are they making it sing?
Is an animal that
Lives in the...
Yeah. Thanks, guys. We didn't know what a pig was. It's fascinating. So then we get treated to another turn people into dust thing. And
Or pigs
or fish.
The two of them are a really good creepy team.
Yeah, they
I
are.
have to say, these two actors work really well as a pair.
Honestly, I think that's part of why I am, like, feeling so weirded out by this season. I think you just put your finger on it, is that her and David together just feels, like, aggressive, but him and her together feel like they're really having just such a good time.
Yeah.
And I know that there were times where we'd see David sort of acting like, ooh, snap, oh boy, and doing some shit, but we never really, like, we saw that from afar after it happened through the video camera.
Right.
And we never really saw him sort of inhabiting that in that casual, whatever kind of way. Cavalier. That's the word I want.
That's a good,
And so
seeing
seeing
it
them
here, like Oliver is chilling basically.
Yeah.
At one point he's coming down the hallway, and they've filmed it in such a way that it almost seems like he's hovering, and it's like this actor is somebody who's in like comic roles usually, so to see him doing something this dark, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
And yeah, so turn people into dust and pigs and fish and have a grand old time doing it. Do 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 do.
You know, that's interesting because, like, having a usually comic actor do something dark can be something that I've seen before that felt a little bit like a crutch.
Right.
But I don't think that they explored enough the, like, the crossover that can happen between doing something dark and being comedic about it. And that's what they're like, exploiting that bit of lightness about his acting
Right.
at the same time. And so I think that's what makes it so effective, is that he really is good at that, and they know that, so they're like, oh, we're gonna keep that, we're gonna keep how, like, kind of oddly peppy you are.
You've seen What We Do in the Shadows, right?
Yes.
You know he's the guy from that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, because he's hilarious. He's the goofiest
That's one of the funniest
guy.
movies. I need to watch that again. I forgot about that movie.
Yeah, and you know, he's just a goofball, and to see him doing this thing where, like you said, like in certain scenes where they give him the opportunity, there's still that lightness to him, but there's a darkness. Yeah, this whole thing, the way it's shot, and when the like sad little soldiers come running down the hallway, and they just look at them and say, "Run away," and they're like, "Yep, that's what we're gonna do."
I appreciated that he did give them that opportunity. He's like,
Yeah.
okay, a bunch of kids, I draw the line here.
Yeah,
That's appreciated.
yeah. There is a small bit of morality in there, maybe.
Yeah, we all draw our lines in different places, I guess. So they're in the middle of this, and Carrie is, like, super engrossed in whatever the fuck he's doing. He's looking at something with, like, a pokey stick of something. It's like a... It looks almost like a Death Star that's been split open. Whatever he's working on. But yeah, he is in the middle of doing this. Something shorts out and gets his attention and makes him turn just long enough for Oliver to just go, like, swinging by, and he doesn't notice.
Yeah.
Which made, again, another thing that's really uncomfortable. Like, I don't like it when it's one thing when somebody is being stalked within their house and they're aware of it and they're hiding like that. But when a bunch of shit's happening right outside their door and they're not even aware that it's happening, and then they come outside and all hell has broken loose, that is so much scarier to me.
Yeah, that's some horror movie shit right there.
Yeah. They're really pushing some buttons this episode, is what I'm saying. Meanwhile, Melanie is asleep. There are clouds of that drug floating through the air, it looks like. I don't know if that's like an effect of what, him being around is. And he passes by the room where they have all the people from the club, I guess. Because it didn't even occur to me
that they would have moved them all there.
No, that these people don't just come out of it after.
Oh, yeah.
I 100% thought that was a temporary thing. And he did it so that they could escape. And, now we're done. And they come back and they're just like, what happened? My jaw hurts. But...
oh, this TMJ is killing me.
This is really rough. I wonder if they'll cover this in my plan.
Do we need to get a bite plate? I don't
But yeah, they're fucking just chilling in there with IVs on them. Just still...
like a warehouse.
Shit, it's horrifying.
Yeah.
I tweeted the very first episode. I tweeted the sound of hundreds of people's teeth clacking together is something I could do with never hearing again. And somebody replied to that tweet with, yeah, about that.
Spoilers.
Right.
Oh.
So he's passing by, the camera moves over, and you finally see Farouk standing there, staring in. And Carrie went to get himself a cup of coffee, and he runs into...
Lenny.
Oh my god. First it's Oliver.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's like talking to him, and Oliver's not responding, and he finally goes, can you hear me in there? And then Oliver says, can you hear me in there? And it's inside his head.
Right.
He flips out. Carrie, too, comes peeling out and says, all right, let's go. And he's standing there saying that he's scared. And it turns out he should be. And a hand reaches up through the floor and yanks him down one floor into the room below. That's the worst thing.
They're all the worst things.
It's really... There's really something about the fact that you never know what form the, crazy powers are going to take.
Right.
That is incredibly unnerving.
Right. That it's basically anything and everything.
Yeah. And as he puts it later, reality is whatever you say it is. So what? I can reach through this floor, whatever. I can yank you down here. It's fine.
Yep.
And then he's on the floor in this room staring into this dark wall that has a couple beds pushed up against it, and there's not much light. And you just see very faintly the outline of a person. Maybe it's that's not even distinct enough, except that there's two bright dots where the eyes are. And that right there, that is some Babadook shit.
Yeah.
That fucked me up. And she comes crawling out of the corner. I hated it so much. It was so creepy, man. Oh my god.
Aubrey Plaza is my hero. How she makes herself this creepy. She's so far from April Ludgate here. It's pretty amazing what she does on this show.
It must be a lot of fun. It must be a lot of fun, right?
Oh, yeah. They must all be having so much fun on this show.
Oh, God, but that... And then she pings his spoon.
Yep.
Which fucks something up.
Yeah, it does.
And Carrie upstairs stops dead. And then later they can't merge back into each other again.
Yeah.
For reasons unknown.
Right. I like
they
when they're
eventually
trying to
managed
do it.
to.
Yeah, they managed to get his arm at least back inside of her.
Ugh.
Which is something. because that was a creepy effect. But I love when they're trying to get back together and it's almost like they're doing some sort of weird, like, arm wrestling shit.
Mm-hmm.
They're just kind of pushing on each other's hands and, like, throwing each other around. Like, well, come on! Was a good use of that actor's clown school miming ability.
I don't believe, even after they get that straightened out, that everything is okay.
Oh, no.
Something fucking permanent just happened.
Yeah,
like,
something's really fucked up about the two of them right now.
I hate it.
Mm-hmm. Poor Carries.
I really do, like, feel... And, okay, and then I had issue with this. Because right after all of this, and, like, I guess Oliver and Lenny just disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of a sudden she's alone in the hallway. Right after all this, everybody comes back from their jaunt out to the desert, and they bust into the room where Carrie is laying on the floor, and Patani gets up on his radio and just says, 3rd floor secure. And I'm like, bitch, you've been here for a minute.
Yeah, sure.
You don't know that. Stop.
Mm-hmm. He just wants to feel fancy. That's what Patani does.
It's just such a, like, you're dealing with somebody who could maybe be a wall right now. You don't know that.
Oh,
you
totally
know?
secure. Super secure. Someone who could be a wall.
Totally, super, completely, yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, then we get the arm sticking out of the middle of her chest, which is awesome. And even though they get, like, the arm back inside her, as she puts it later, I've been turned inside out, because she's not supposed to be the one on the outside.
On the outside. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so we cut to some blue shit dropping into some liquid and coming out of a elephant trunk.
Mm-hmm.
And Melanie sucking that shit down and then passed out. And then we see, what's his face? The silhouette of him standing in the doorway.
Mm-hmm.
The monk of the Migo order. Is he here? Have you seen him? And this, she decides, is what he's looking for some reason, that this is, like, key to finding the body.
Right.
I don't trust that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't trust Melanie, frankly.
Melanie's got to get her shit together.
I feel like she's been compromised.
She has a whole long scene later in the episode where she's so negative. Mm-hmm. She's so, like, this is all garbage. Mm-hmm. Let's just be high all the time. We're gonna lose.
Which, like, I get that to a point. But there is also, I don't know, I just have this, like, impatience with it, where it just seems like there's the way that she was talking about it in the first episode, it feels like she doesn't even really seem to understand what's going on. And I don't ever see her, like, discussing things in the capacity of, like, someone who's in the loop.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that she, like, I think she has to understand what really happened, but she acts like Oliver's, like, voluntarily participating in this. In the last episode, the way she talked about, like, him just leaving and her letting him go. And now talking to David about how it's an obstacle, and she's like, just go and live. And I'm like, bitch, that thing is in his head. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
He can't just run away. That's not how it works. And you know that. What are you talking about? I got really impatient.
I think Melanie may still be working under the impression that David's issues are all about him being a mutant and have nothing to do with him also being schizophrenic. Like, 'cause she says really early on in the first season, in the episodes you just rewatched, she's like, oh, no, you're fine. They shouldn't have put you in a mental institution. You just have these special powers that make you special. And I really don't think that's all that's going on with David.
I feel like even if it were, I can't see that it would hurt.
Right.
To have him, like, he said that to the psychiatrist in the first season that the drugs helped a little. He made it clear it didn't, like, cure him or completely clear things up, but it helped a little. So what is the harm in that? I could see the argument that, like, well, maybe it suppresses his powers. Well, what if it does? If it lets him live in peace a little bit?
Yep.
But
I mean, that's a thing that happens with mental illness all the time, though, is people not wanting to take their medication because they feel like it suppresses important parts of them. Which, personally, I think if you're on the right psychiatric medications, it should not do that. So if it is doing that, you should try something else. I say that as somebody who's tried a whole bunch of things until I found something that didn't, fix one thing but fuck something else up.
Right.
But I just know a ton of people who've been like, well, no, I like being manic, or, being depressed is what makes me artistic, or, those sorts of things. And so they just suffer rather than try to find some way to help the bad parts but keep the good parts. Like, there's no way of knowing, given David's situation, because he's such a unique individual, whether there are medications he could take that would help with, the actual psychiatric problems he has and not mess with his mutant abilities. Because I think you can think of the two of them, not necessarily, but personally, I think of them as two separate things. That, like, his entirety is not his mutanthood. Like, he's got this mutant stuff going on, but his brain has other stuff going on, too. That's just the way I conceptualize it.
And, I completely respect somebody's desire to do something their way because it's their body. But there is a point where if there are people around you that care about you and that you claim to care about that are suffering because you aren't taking charge of things, that's on you, too. It's not just about you up to a point. And I don't think David's necessarily in that situation right now because it's just, again, it's so hard to tell what the fuck.
Right.
But, yeah, that's...
if your refusal to get help affects other people to a really destructive degree, then there's a certain amount of selfishness in not trying to get help. David maybe should try and get a little bit of help because this ain't working.
Yeah.
The way it is right now. And people are dying.
Yeah.
And he's over
here making bum deals that he thinks they're just going to uphold because he says.
And he's got voices arguing in his head.
Yep.
And I'm like, David, you're not holding it together as well as you seem to think you are, which is, because you're mentally ill. So you think you're fine when you're not.
Yep.
That's basically the definition of what it's like to be having a psychotic break. He's in a constant state of psychotic break.
So exhausting.
Yeah, I know. It must be exhausting to be David. You can tell. You can see it in his eyes. He's a little tired. He needs a nap. But instead he gets a nap.
Melanie wakes up, like, remembering, sort of, and then she goes and tells the Admiral.
Yeah, Fukuyama.
And it's talking about the monk of the Migo order, to which Vermilion replies, many years ago, the Migo monks were wiped out by the Miser Sunday. And I'm just like...
The Miser, what the fuck?
Helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That actually made me laugh out loud. The way Vermilion says that, like, oh, sure, that makes perfect sense.
Right.
Did you not know that part of our history? That the monks of the Migo order were wiped out by, what is it, the Sunday?
Miser Sunday.
The Miser Sunday. They teach you that in AP history class. You should all know that.
I really also disliked that David tries to be like, the who? And Melanie's just like, before your time. I'm like, yeah, so is fucking Amal Farouk here, girl.
Mm-hmm.
And it still matters.
Yeah. Let's teach him about things that happened before his time. That's how you learn.
Uh-huh.
If it was after his time, you could be like, why don't you know that? If it's before his time, you can say, oh, you wouldn't know that. Let me tell you.
Maybe she's like, oh, I'll tell you later. But she doesn't. She tells him to run away to the mountains. Very unhelpfully.
Sorry, just the way you said, to the mountains. Made me laugh.
There was something, like, particularly, like, galling about that. I don't know. But, yeah. So, the theory is that his body was hidden away with the monks. Mm-hmm. And that if he can find the last one, they will know where the body is. Mm-hmm. Which... Okay. I don't really know what to think of this. Mm-hmm. That monk that we saw walking around, I assumed was part of the delusion.
Right.
I still kind of feel that way. Like, I don't know that monk is even really there. I don't know. Mm-hmm.
Well, it has an IV at the end. Doesn't the monk have one of the IVs, or is it just standing next to an IV?
I think he was standing next to it because he looked conscious, like he was...
Yeah. Oh, he's definitely not one of the chattering teeth people. He's just hanging out. Like, he apparently likes the sound of the chattering teeth, so why not?
It's very restful.
Mm-hmm. I find it very zen. You're wrong to find it very zen, but, you do you.
And at this point, Vermilion accuses David of, like, hiding things and lying.
I like this. It's something like, there's a 63% chance that you are hiding things from us.
And
like,
she basically, like, sticks up for him in a weird way by saying you maybe don't want to piss off the one person who's capable of killing the monster. Mm-hmm. Which I'm like, I guess? Yeah. But don't you want to know?
Whether he's
But it just feels like Melanie's lost faith in this entire system.
Melanie is just...
Right?
Melanie should not be in this room. Melanie's in no shape to be saying anything about anything.
Yeah, it bums me out a little bit that she is the one that, like, got any information to bring to them,
And that she still feels entitled to be in a leadership position without actually doing any sort of leading. Yeah. So she gets this one piece of information and she comes in to talk, and then she's basically hushing everybody else up. Mm-hmm. That's a little annoying. I don't love it.
It seems very... She's being irresponsible. That's what's happening here.
The drugs, man. No good.
Where did she even get those? What's going on with her using the same drug that David used to use?
Yeah, what's happening in Division 3 where they're like, yeah, just let her have those drugs? Just leave her in her room with her, heroin humidifier or whatever that fucking thing is. And it's fine. We'll just give her some room and board and let her have her drugs.
Some fucking security in here, guys. Come on. And David's walking down the hallway and sees these piles of ash that nobody's cleaned up, I guess.
Sure.
Because they're people, and nobody knows which person they are. Mm-hmm. Which is the thing that I just can't get out of my head, is that there's, like, no identifying characteristics at this point. I want to know what happened to the pig and fish. But
well, the fish is probably dead. The pig's around somewhere.
How undignified.
No, they're just trying to figure out how to turn the pig back.
Is there anyone who can do that?
Do you think David could do that?
I'm just realizing that we're seeing stuff from inside the Admiral's basket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't even realize that until just now.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
It's just, like, pivoting around. He's just watching everything all over the place.
Yeah.
I don't care for that. How since when does he get the right to just spy on people for no reason just because he's got a basket? That's not enough. That basket doesn't make you the guy. It's a cool
basket.
That's some bullshit. All right, so yeah, we have Carrie trying to connect, talking to her inside Carrie, asking, is that what I sound like? And they're in the middle of just like chit-chatting, and she's laying down because everything feels wrong, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And David comes in and just like, this basically, essentially what he's like, I want you to just figure out how to use this incredibly dangerous machine. Just, you know, he'll tell you, I guess, from in there. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And that machine, I guess, stayed because last episode I thought that it had been, but he just projected himself out into the hallway. Right?
Yeah.
Last episode?
Yeah.
Okay. And he kind of bribes her with the, you know, as soon as we get Farouk, we'll be able to get you guys back in the right place. And, I'm really not sure that's a thing, but I guess it's all we got. So sure, fine. I don't know what anything is anymore. So he wants to travel through time. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. Travel forward in time. That's easy enough. You should be able to do that with your fancy tank.
You know, I did notice when I was rewatching the second or third episode of last season that there's an announcement over the intercom that's like, Dr. So-and-so's beginner's time travel course has been canceled. So yeah, she sends him forward. There's this like really weird sequence of his face bending and him in like boiling water like he's a little hard-boiled egg.
And then there's this weird Tron animation stuff happening, or like spirograph.
And then he wakes up in this weird room with like purple light, and there's a lot of jitteriness to the editing here, where things don't entirely line up, which makes me think that there's like there's brain editing happening too.
Yeah.
Whenever this happens, I don't trust that this isn't something that's been fucked with. It's like the, memory from Horace Slughorn that just has this weird moment that's like rubbed out. And I don't like this whole thing. He talks to future Sydney, whom I do not believe is actually future Sydney at all.
Right.
And she is telling him that she didn't think she'd ever see him again like this. It looks like she's missing an arm.
She does appear to be missing an arm.
And she's talking about how there's this like thing that has wiped all these people out, but that we need Farouk to stop it. He doesn't get any details at all about this. I don't know. This just like, it bugs me so much that he's just going for this. And I just don't really know what like, that he is taken in by this. And I'll feel like an idiot if I'm being like this with him and it turns out that he's not wrong.
Right.
That this really is the future Sydney. But I just don't think that's true. And the fact that we know he sees things and has had false memories and stuff, and then he tells Sydney later that he saw future Sydney and she told him, and she's just like, well, if I told you to, then let's do it. I'm like, how? Guys, I just don't understand how you're all
just taking
going to take this insane story at face value right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a moment where he tries to read her mind, and it causes him this intense pain, and he thinks that it's because he's from the past, and I don't see that either.
Right.
I feel like that's something else happening. But yeah, so basically, she's telling him. I keep saying basically. I hate myself.
Basically,
you ever have that moment?
Basically, yep. I have that moment
hear
all the
one
time.
Word, and you realize that you just say that one word repeatedly all the time. Been a couple podcast episodes I've edited where I'm like, I have the vocabulary of a fourth grader. But I keep saying, especially basically with this show, because there's so much extra shit going on that I keep feeling like I have to boil it down.
Yeah, summarize it somehow into something understandable.
And she talks about how it started off as an idea, as an egg, which again, I feel like that's a hint.
Yeah.
You know? I don't like this. I'm just looking at her with her aging makeup on and some weird thing in her hair.
Her scarf, her tattered scarfy thing.
And she's like the future Maud. And she says that David killed Farouk, bashed his brains out in the desert. But Farouk only kills a few. This thing kills everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not getting any details. What does that mean? What does that look like? I mean, when Ptonomy says the kids don't get infected, so that's why we use them, he immediately wants to know. But she says something like that, and he doesn't want
details, yeah.
Come on. So, that's that meetup. He tells her that she's different. And he asks her one other question, I think, but she just starts to, back away into the purple, and disappears. And then we get a little, another one of those, info dumps. Did you say it was John Hamm?
Yeah.
And
he starts talking about reality.
Yeah. And the fact that human beings are the only creatures on the planet that don't naturally know how to interact instinctively with their environment in that, gut level way that animals that are not conscious do.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be taught everything. And if we are taught incorrectly, it will... And by incorrectly, I mean if we are taught differently than the entire rest of society.
Right. That's going to fuck everything up.
Yeah. So we all have to agree on...
That things mean things.
Yeah. So we call one color green and another color red because that's what we decided to call them.
Right.
They don't come with names. We just pick a name and say that's it. And if you tell somebody the opposite and they don't know any better and go into traffic, they will die.
Yep.
And we see Oliver teaching this boy and watching him go into traffic and then very, very detachedly taking notes about,
yeah.
Oh yeah, he just walked into traffic. Interesting.
Who would have expected?
Yeah, it's a strange example, but it works. And the narrator ends with, and this is why human beings are the only species on Earth that can go mad. Which,
Neato.
I never thought about that, but that's fucked up. And I just don't really know why we got saddled with this. What's that about?
Yeah, that seems unfair. What did we do?
Yeah. I can understand why people are just like, well, I want to go back to the garden before Eve ate the apple and we didn't know anything. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I kind of feel you on that,
That's
bruh.
fair.
But we're here now.
So we got to deal with it somehow.
I guess lots of drugs. So David's climbing the steps and gets intercepted by Clark. Clark is just not having it.
Clark thinks that David is full of so much shit.
David said something about how you're making me mad, and he's like, oh, what? Are you going to put some more office supplies in my face? And I was like, sick burn, bruh, actually. I forgot about that. But, dude, I hated him so much last season. I hated him so very deeply. Oh, God. But now that I know that David is lying about a bunch of stuff, watching Carrie absolutely not fall for his shit at all is really satisfying.
Right.
I did not expect to be on this end of things.
Right.
And I don't know that I necessarily would be if I knew why David is hiding whatever else he's hiding. Because there's clearly more that we don't know yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there's something else going on. And I just love Carrie's like, are you familiar with the term collusion? In this, oh God, it's just, I really want to be on David's side, but I feel like he's being stupid and short-sighted and easily conned, and I'm not excited about somebody who I feel at this point should know better. Mm-hmm. Somebody who should not trust anything about his own brain falling for this easily. How has he not learned already?
Right.
And like I said, if it turns out that this is all true, I'll feel like an idiot in that I was so mad at him the whole time. Mm-hmm. But I still think that my point stands in that respect.
Yeah.
I feel like you should want some more proof, some more details, some more anything. He's not pressing any points.
No.
And the conversation just, kind of winds up with David being like, all right, you know what? And just leaving. And Clark sitting there very smugly sipping his tea. Mm-hmm. And David goes straight to colluding.
Yeah, he really does. He's like, by the way, I'm going to go do that now. That was a good idea.
Thanks for the reminder.
Thank you for reminding me that was what I had planned for the afternoon, was the collusion.
Yep. So he goes into his room, and he thinks very hard that I need to talk to you. And he winds up on that plane with the fortune teller booth and a bell that he rings and waits for service. And then he turns around, and there's Farouk sitting there in a fabulous suit.
Yeah.
Looking like he's, about to have a beautiful filigree glass of iced tea brought to him by salaaming servants in white. Mm-hmm. And he is unfazed by a lot of this. Like, I expected him... I don't know what I expected, but he's so in control, despite the fact that he's kind of desperate.
Yeah.
You would think.
But he's patient. He's been doing this for a long time. And he's supposedly been defeated, but he really hasn't been, and he's like, it's gonna work out. I got irons in the fire, and I've got this punk to deal with. So
patient. Mm-hmm. That is a good word to describe him, because the presence of this man is very solid. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't get an impression at any point that he's leaving that chair. No. Like, he is where he is, and he's fine with it. Mm-hmm. Like, you get the sense I'm exactly where I want to be, actually. You may think that I'm at the disadvantage, but I'm fine with this.
Yeah.
And that's kind of more upsetting than anything otherwise, because he could just wait, because he's been around for this long. Even if this doesn't work, everybody could die. He'll still be somewhere. Mm-hmm. He's like Voldemort. They need to get the Horcruxes together.
Yep. They have no Horcruxes. They're at a disadvantage.
And he tells David that he needs to stop sitting at the kiddie table and get his knowledge rolling, because he hasn't learned enough and doesn't understand.
Well, it was all before his time, so,
All right.
Why would anybody bother teaching him anything?
He needs somebody. Yeah. I kind of want them to, team up and be, frenemies. They kind of are, I guess.
They kind of are.
In a more, master-servant sort of way. Or, not servant, master-pupil.
Student, yeah.
Yeah,
less of a Mean Girls sort of implication.
And he calls them gods. He says, we're bigger than Jesus.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I guess you're still around.
Yeah. He's not humble.
No. I feel like he's earned the right to not be humble, frankly.
Yeah.
Look what he can fucking do.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
And he reads David's mind at David's request and says, "You're angry and feel used. But, you know, you might not be mad at me. You might be mad at yourself." And David says then, "I don't trust you." And he says, "I don't need you to trust me. I need you to respect me." And I'm just noticing now that the lenses of his glasses are two different colors.
Mm-hmm.
They're blue and red.
Oh.
And the light behind her was purple.
Huh.
I feel like that means something. But you know, what do I know? So then we get to see David's biceps, which nobody is sorry about. I had no idea. What's up, David? That's surprising. I thought you were a string bean. Okay. And that's the end of that scene. No, I'm just kidding.
There were arms. Goodbye.
You know, Farouk isn't even bad himself.
No. For a 50-year-old dude?
You know? All right. But yeah, they are wrestling in those hilarious onesies that I just... Whose idea was that? Like, let's really... Who was like, no, it should have a top. But, you know, just be like straps. So you can see the nipples and the rib cage and everything. Just straps, pretty much. Like suspenders with shorts. Oh, what?
Yeah.
And then they go through a bunch of different cycles of ways of fighting with each other. And he pulls out a samurai sword, and David is suddenly a tank, and it's all just very amusing. I enjoy that they each are smiling as they do this, like they're having a good time exercising their imagination muscles. Because David fires the tank, but it's too late. Farouk is a sandstorm. And what are you going to do to a sandstorm? Nothing. And there's finally a moment where it looks like David's been bested, but then he flips over and he grabs Farouk. And Farouk doesn't even... David's not winning. Farouk just is like, all right, I'm tired of this. And that's when he ends it. But it's kind of amusing to see how, like, Farouk is... at that point really smiling, and he's just like, oh boy, but David's like clearly trying. It's like watching like a toddler wrestling with like a big dog, you know, and the dog is just like, oh, you're so cute, I'm not gonna hurt you, and the kid is like, ah! Oh, child. Yeah, so he finally makes him agree to no more violence, and Farouk does this. I love the way he just goes, less fun, but all right, fine, I promise. And then David gets out of there. David, what are you doing? Just really, what are you doing, though? He tells Farouk, I'll find him, wait for my signal. And I'm just like, God, you really think you're in so much more control of this than you are.
Yep, he really does.
It's bothersome. So, the first season taught me too well how little I can trust literally anything. So... I do enjoy the way that they handle Farouk handling things, because he just like rubs out that stand with his thumb like it was drawn on a whiteboard.
Yeah.
And later on he like unzips the landscape.
Yes, I
so
love that.
In just a white room, and that was pretty awesome.
With Aubrey Plaza in her yellow overalls. I think
yes.
That was good imagery. The use of color there was very stark. It was very cool.
And I never really thought about, she is actually around. Like, yeah. And that's what David was asking her at the beginning of the episode. Are you? Is there any of you in there? And she doesn't answer him because I'm not sure she even really knows.
No, I think the answer is kinda.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And she tells Farouk, you got what you wanted out of me, and I would like it to just, go back to living my life now.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, well, you don't have a body. It's gone. She's like, yeah, you could make me a new one, I bet, which I'm sure he could. 100%. And he doesn't really answer her. He just asks her,
what would you do with it?
Yeah. And she says, I would live the living shit out of it. And then he walks up to her and stands very close to her and says, and then what?
Mm-hmm.
And she says, I guess I'd die again? And then he says, and then what?
Mm-hmm.
And she seems to realize that, oh, this might not ever end.
Right.
Oh, this just might be
it.
Which is a very upsetting thought.
Mm-hmm.
He took her out of her body and made it so that maybe she can never die.
Right.
Which, for some people, might be a good thing. They might be delighted. But she doesn't have any power.
Right.
At all here.
No. And hardly anybody to interact with. I get the sense she's a little bit of an extrovert.
You think?
She might appreciate some friendship from someone other than Oliver. For whatever Oliver is,
I really wonder if he, gave her this favor and let her go into a new body. Would it then be Farouk and Oliver? Like, them two? Would
just
she be
them hanging out? Or would she just be gone?
Yeah, I guess Farouk could make himself look like her. Like, he doesn't need her, really.
No, because
he can that anymore.
He can kind of look like either of them if he wants to at this point, or maybe when it's the two of them together, he is both of them. I don't know. How do you conceptualize that? John Hamm, tell me how to conceptualize that. I don't know. Reality is what you say it is.
Yeah, right? I guess so. He could make her think that she's gotten a life.
Yeah. That's exactly. And then be like, psych! Uh-huh.
Hey, dummy. Alright, so we go back to the Carries, and she winds up singing a song that they apparently saw on, like, a show when they were kids together.
Yeah, that's the Banana Splits theme song.
Oh,
Have you ever seen the Banana Splits?
I do not believe so.
The Banana Splits... I don't know how to explain the Banana Splits. I don't think I'm even going to try. They were giant full body... they were like giant furries in a band.
So... What?
They're it was a show about this band of animals, but they're people in big animal costumes, and they played songs. I think it was one of those Croft
So there were no
shows.
Bananas involved.
Oh, one of them was a monkey.
Wait, you covered your mic up. What was that?
Sorry, one of them was a monkey. So I guess he ate bananas. I think his name, and then there was a dog named Fleagle. I don't know. I used to show it. It was on the Hanna-Barbera Cartoon Network-y, whatever it's called, Boomerang. So it would show up late at night, and I used to watch it when I used to do things late at night myself, like take drugs and watch the Banana Splits and be like, Fleagle, you're so funny. I don't do that anymore, and I don't have very clear memories of any of it because I was pretty high most of the time.
What is the appeal of being high?
I don't know, that sounds pretty entertaining, doesn't it? Just watch the Banana Splits.
No, that sounds like my nightmare. That sounds like the worst thing.
Look, there's a reason I don't do it anymore. It's because it gets pretty boring after a while.
Oh my god.
Look up the Banana Splits. Here, I'm looking up Banana Splits Adventure Hour. So it's under genre children, live action, animation, psychedelia, comedy, adventure. Sure.
Okay. Psychedelia.
Yeah.
I can't believe that's even a word. That sounds so made up.
That just says, the series sponsor was Kellogg's cereals. So it was basically a weird...
Oh my god, somebody needs to open a delicatessen called Psychedelia.
Yeah, that'd work.
That'd be good.
That'd work.
And then I'm trying to think, like, what would he be psychedelic about it, but you just make it, whatever, paint the inside purple.
Yeah.
But yeah, she sings this song out loud, and it triggers something, and things go right again. Kind of. I don't believe that it's really right. But for now, it's better. Anyway. And she has a white streak in her hair now. Yeah. Because that shit done fucked her up, and she's rogue.
And she's rogue now.
Tee-hee. So then we get that fucking depressing-ass conversation with Melanie, which... I feel like we covered this,
Yeah,
right?
basically.
And, David is... I don't know how seriously he takes that conversation. It doesn't feel like very, but it's hard to know with him what sinks in. I don't know. And he goes up to talk to Sydney on the roof. The most fake-looking roof that ever was. It was frankly distracting. But she's up there in this real weird position, like playing with something in front of her. I don't even know what it is. And he's looking at her like, the fuck are you doing? And it turns out that she's practicing and she's in the cat
thing. Can you imagine how funny it must have been for him to have to act this scene opposite the cat? Like he's having this, like, he's supposed to be really conveying this serious, issue that he's having, and it's just a fucking cat not even looking at him. And he's supposed to pretend it's his girlfriend. Oh, that must have just been fun.
Oh my god, it's a dead pigeon! I didn't even realize that. That's fucked up.
Is that what Sid's playing with?
Yes.
Oh my god, that's too
funny. It's super gross. Now we know where that fucking disease came from. Sydney playing with dead pigeons and then licking her hands. God. The plague is back. Sorry, I got distracted. It was so gross. But this cat is so cute, though. I would play opposite this cat.
It is a very pretty cat.
Oh my god. She looks so fluffy. Her fur is blowing in the wind. Ugh. Look at her eyes. So, yeah, he tells her the thing, and she's like, yeah, well, I guess you have to listen to me, so I'll help you. And I'm just... She's so
blasé about it, it's weird. Like, it seems almost inhuman and robotic that she's just like, okay.
Right.
And has no emotional reaction to it at all.
I just don't understand anybody this season.
Yeah, it's just, she doesn't seem like, I don't know. She just seems off to me through all of this. Maybe she's spending too much time as a cat. It's warping
maybe that's
her
not
brain.
Even Sydney. Maybe she's not even here.
I don't know.
Maybe she's dead. Maybe she's a cat.
Have we seen Sydney actually have a conversation with anybody but David? She's been in the room, but I don't know if we've seen her talk to anybody else.
No, we haven't. Oh, wait.
Have we?
She talked to, when she had the cat last time. She talked, was it Carrie?
It must have been Carrie.
Yeah. Because they were unnerved by it.
Yes, that's true. Somebody did talk to her about being a cat. And being like, so, you're being a cat now. Okay.
See, this show is fucked up to have to be like, has anybody else talked to her? Do we know that she's there? That's crazy. Also, can we talk about these giant fucking Hulk hands? What is this?
I don't know.
I can't focus, guys. Because there's this just giant blue, green, pink, green finger pointing at David in the background at his head the whole time. As if the director's like, look at that guy. Look, audience, focus. He is talking. Listen, look. Do you see? I don't understand why there's so many of them either. They're all over the place. It's ugly.
Yeah.
It's just ugly, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like they look like they, they're obviously being held up or held down by something. I really get the impression that they're being held down, like they float. But what are they, like satellites? Are they? I don't know. I got nothing. All right, so
Is that it?
I feel like she says, okay, yeah, it ends with her saying reality's a choice, which I'm like, oh, interesting, okay. Where do we start? And he says, we find the monk. And then we go back to the hallway for a second. And we see the teeth chattering way too close up. Don't care for it again. And then we see the monk, who is chilling out in there, which I'm not entirely sure that he's really there or what's going on. But he's definitely not in the state that everybody else is in. And yeah, he's got those 2 smears across his head still. I don't know. I don't think he's attached to that.
He's not attached to it?
I can't... It doesn't... He's standing near enough to it that he might be. But his eyes are moving in that real weird way.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, good. I wasn't crazy thinking that? Okay.
No.
Yeah. They're like going back and forth really fast.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's kind of freaking me out. Like, I'm not entirely sure if it's a power or if it's like a signal to us. I don't know. But it's definitely happening, and there's like a character in the Dark Tower whose eyes, when he does this thing that kind of changes matter around him, I think is what his power is. His pupils contract and dilate really, really fast.
Right.
And everybody gets a little flipped out whenever it starts to happen. But this kind of reminded me of that, where it's like a somewhat subtle thing that you'd have to be fairly close to him to even see is happening. But once you notice it, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
What is that? So yeah, and that's the
end.
That's it. I don't know, guys.
Who knows? Who even knows?
I'm gonna live tweet the next episode when I watch it. I will do that. Again, it's at Unspoiled Rotten. It's a pretty good name. I was glad that was free.
Yeah.
And I don't know what else to say because I've got fucking nothing. I don't know. All right, you satisfied? You cackling hordes out there.
I thought you were going to
listening
call me a cackling whore.
Oh, Jesus.
I was
No.
like, I haven't been that bad about your not understanding what's happening. Come on.
No, not you, the listeners.
I know the listeners.
I'm mad at the listeners.
I know. Once you finished the word, I knew what you were saying. But as the first syllable came out of your mouth, I was like, whoa. Whoa.
What is it that he says in the song Prince Ali? Defeat the something in hordes.
Oh.
100 bad guys with swords.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He beat the galloping hordes.
Galloping.
Yeah, the galloping
That's what
hordes.
it was.
That song gets stuck in my head all the fucking time. I hate having kids sometimes.
Defeat the cackling hordes it is now. How about that, guys? I'm going to defeat you all.
100 bad guys with swords.
With swords. Oh my god, I love it so much. That's such a good song!
I know. I wish my kids actually liked that movie better because it's really a good one. And they do not appreciate Robin Williams the way they should.
Oh, he was so brilliant in that.
I know. Well, they don't get any of the references, and so it doesn't age for their generation, you know, because so much of it is him doing impressions of people. My kids don't know who they are.
I didn't know who
That's
he was
true.
making impressions of when I was a kid.
Okay.
So I appreciate a lot more of that stuff now.
Yeah.
But at the time, I still just thought that it was hilarious because of like the changes
It's just
in
how
costume.
and how over the top he was. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter who he's actually impersonating, but just that he's impersonating people, and it's funny.
And that's something Owen and I all the time when we like have to do something that we don't want to do. It's not a pretty picture. I don't like doing it. And it's just like We say it all the time.
It's a good one.
Go watch Aladdin, guys.
Yeah, you should. Watch Aladdin to get this back out of your system. Just something light and happy.
Something light where when somebody transforms into a million different things, it's delightful and funny rather than terrifying.
Not a nightmare. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of you all listen to the other shows that I do, but Rashawn is having some real bad Comcast problems. And her internet has been out all weekend, and she just kind of has, like, lost her temper completely because she is on a fucking contract with them that she can't get out of, and they can't come to fix it until next week. So we aren't able to do any of our recordings this week, which sucks.
Yeah.
Because we were about to finish the last chapter of the President Dresden Files book, and the next book is, like, my favorite, and I have been dying to get to it. Now it's just being put off again, Comcast! You suck! So that's what's going on with that. So if you don't see those popping up on your feeds, that's why. My apologies. Unsober, I'm, like, you know, distantly hoping that her internet will come back and she'll be down to do Unsober on Saturday, but I would not hold my breath on that. We'll probably have to reschedule it. And I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I immediately needed to announce. Oh, the book club live show will be on Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. Candace is going to be recording it with me. We're covering Eleanor and Park, which I have just started, and I like it a lot better than I thought I would because I had been going into it, like, kind of unsure. And I know for a fact Candace really doesn't like it. So it'll be an interesting conversation, but it's going to be on Crowdcast. It's open to everybody. It's not just patrons, because I really want to hear what other people have to say about it or what they think. And I know a lot of people, this was a book that they read before they became aware of some problematic stuff in it, which I don't think I've gotten to a lot of that yet, but I have heard more than one person, like I think in the book club group especially, them being like, you know, I understand the problems that people have with it. I didn't see it at the time, and now I do, but I still really liked the book, which I am totally understand that. I'm like that with a lot of books also.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see if I can look past that, or if I will be a Team Candace, or what. Maybe I'll both. Who knows? It's a mystery. So, yeah, that's Saturday, July 7th, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. The link is in the event on Facebook at facebook.com/unspoiledpod. You can follow us at Twitter at unspoiledshow, or at unspoiledrotten for the spoilery tweets, and Instagram at unspoiledpodcast. And I think that's it. You good?
Yeah, can I mention my article?
Yeah.
Thing?
Do it.
So I'm now writing for a magazine. It's called Coffee or Die magazine, and I'm sort of the token liberal on the masthead. A lot of the content is sort of military related because it's aimed towards a veteran audience, but I'm adding sort of a little twist to it. I have a column where I'm mostly writing about, it's just personal profiles. So the first one I wrote was about a female truck driver friend of mine, and what that's like for her. I've got another article coming out hopefully soon that's about a female scrapyard mechanic. And I just finished an article about a female falconer who hunts with golden eagles. And
That's
she
so
learned how to
cool.
do it in Mongolia, up in the mountains. And it's very cool. She's very cool. So I'm going to be writing profiles like that on a monthly basis for them. Right now, the easiest way I think to get to them is on Facebook. You can look up Coffee or Die, and then on Twitter they're at Coffee or Die Mag. And my
I
editor,
hate that. Oh, that's so annoying. I had to add Unspoiled Show to mine,
Yeah.
even though.
Right.
Yeah.
So Coffee or Die Mag is there. And my editor, who's a great guy, his big piece for this first issue is finally up. He's a former Army Ranger, and he went and he embedded with Special Forces in Afghanistan and hung out there for about a week and went on a mission and got in a firefight and didn't have a weapon on him, which I think must have been really insane to be a former soldier
God.
and just have a camera and be like, all right, this is happening. I'm going to take pictures of it. So he's transitioned to his role as journalist completely at this point. But it's a really well-written piece. It's a nice long read that I enjoyed. I got to see before he put it out. And it's really good. So I do recommend people go read it if they want to know what stuff's actually like for the guys that are still... There are still people in Afghanistan fighting that war. And it's kind of crazy.
I just can't.
I know.
I can't.
I know.
What are we doing?
I know. I know. It just goes on and on and on. But these guys know what they're doing. He was with soldiers who are kind of the best at what they do. And it's interesting to just read about what it's like for them. And just sort of the banality of their day-to-day life. And then they're like, all right, let's go help the Afghan commandos get rid of these ISIS guys. And we'll go off and shoot a whole bunch of people and have some F-16s come in and drop some bombs. And then we'll go back and we'll watch Thor Ragnarok on a sheet that we have hanging at our base. Yeah. That's what they do.
This planet is fucked.
Yeah. But in the meantime, read my article about a truck driver and read Marty's article about Afghanistan because it's really well written. It's a cool read and there's a lot of really cool pictures.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Damn, I want to fucking learn to falcon.
It's crazy. The whole thing is so foreign to me. She said when she learned about it, she was like, I just thought this was something that like medieval knights did. I had no idea this was a thing that you could actually do. And she started when she was 14, and to get a license, she had to build an aviary in her parents' backyard. Oh my God. And she had to take a test on raptor husbandry.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I knew that people still did it because I saw an episode of Midsummer Murders where, like, this British, like, noblewoman still did it. Mm-hmm. And somebody gets, like, clawed in the face because it's a murder show. I would like to learn how to falcon, except not with a falcon, with my vicious cat, Arya, which I think could be very effective.
Just picturing Arya, like, on your arm on a gauntlet, and you're like,
yes,
go! And she just jumps out after some fucking fox and takes it out.
Well, I hear that there's a civil war this 4th of July, so I figure that
you
since
gotta
I don't
arm
have
yourself
a gun,
with a cat.
yeah. That's gonna be. I'll just throw her at people.
Yeah, I hear that. I gotta clear my calendar for this Civil War we're starting.
Yeah, I'm really pissed I didn't get an invitation. You guys,
I
you let
think
me down.
Soros is still supposed to send me a check, and he's not sending me invitations to our Civil War anymore. And I'm really disappointed in my relationship with George Soros at this point. I just feel like he's not communicating with me the way I need him to.
Is he going to pay us as he's paid for all of
our other stuff?
Whatnot?
Every single post I put on Facebook about politics, George Soros pays me for. I didn't know if you knew that or not.